Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. Heavy rain and low clouds that prevented aerial activity over the Aras front in the afternoon of 2nd of April 1917 persisted well into the next day. It wasn't until around 1 o'clock that the first British missions were launched. If you missed the previous episodes about Bloody April 1917, you can find the links in the video description. 3rd of April proved particularly unsuccessful for the Royal Flying Corps. The British lost 6 airplanes and 2 observation balloons. On the other hand, only a single British aircrew claimed the victory. Number 43 Squadron, equipped with Sopwith 1.5 strutters, encountered several Albatross scouts at 2:35 p.m. Lieutenant Harold Balfour and his gunner, 2nd Lieutenant Roberts, claimed to have hit one enemy aircraft and reportedly saw it fall in flames. However, no German losses could be matched with this claim. At 3:30, number 23 Squadron RFC flying FE-2s dispatched a photographic mission to the Medicourt-Gavrelle area, territory covered by the Red Baron's Yashta 11. About an hour later, the FEs were indeed intercepted by the elite German unit, once again led by their commanding officer. Not many details of this encounter are known, and von Richthofen's ghost-written memoirs don't mention the battle. 6 German aircraft attacked the British FE-2s just south of Lens, while they were likely on their return leg. Two British planes were brought down. One of them, flown by 2nd Lieutenant Donald Peter MacDonald with observer John O'Byrne, fell victim to the Red Baron. The pilot, MacDonald, survived, while O'Byrne was killed. Sometime after the war, MacDonald claimed that they were first engaged by 3 enemy fighters, of which 2 were shot down by the FE-2s, one by his own gunner. Then they were supposedly attacked by up to 16 German fighters, one of which shot down his aircraft, killing the observer on the spot. However, it seems that O'Byrne was wounded and died shortly afterward. MacDonald was captured. A few minutes later, Karl Emil Schäfer brought down another FE-2, while Sebastian Festner also claimed one, though it was not confirmed. The Germans suffered no losses. The day concluded with Fritz Otto Bernard shooting down 2 British observation balloons between 7:10 and 7:22. This was the same pilot who had achieved the first aerial victory of April, also by shooting down a British balloon on the morning of the 1st. Altogether, on 3rd of April 1917, German pilots claimed 10 airplanes and 3 balloons destroyed. British records confirmed the loss of 2 balloons and 6 airplanes. German logs record no losses, while the British made only 1 claim, as mentioned earlier. The French sector of the front was rather quiet, with only a single Nieuport pilot wounded. The next day, 4th of April, saw very little activity. The main reason was bad weather, low clouds and rain. The British claimed no enemy aircraft, while the Germans claimed 2. British records indeed show 2 losses, 1 FE-2 and 1 BE-2. The weather remained poor on 5th of April, but British units continued flying. This day is notable for the first operational sortie of the new British fighter type, the Bristol F-2, usually known as the Bristol Fighter, or simply the Brisfit. This 2-seater was originally intended to replace the obsolete BE-2 observation plane, but its powerful engine gave it enough performance to serve as a heavy fighter. More than 5,000 were eventually built, and it produced many aces. However, its combat debut was far from glorious. Number 48 Squadron RFC was the first to operate the new type. One of its flight leaders was Captain William Leif Robinson, famous for shooting down a German airship over London in September 1916, for which he received the Victoria Cross. These airships are commonly referred to as Zeppelins, though not all were built by the Zeppelin company. This particular one had been a Schutte-Lanz model. At 10 o'clock, the Bristol fighters of 48 Squadron set out on their first mission, an offensive patrol led by Captain Robinson. He had decided that if they encountered enemy fighters, the formation would tighten up and rely on the combined defensive fire from the rear gunners. Despite being a successful airship hunter, Robinson had only limited experience with the intense combat environment of the Western Front in 1917. He ignored the type's speed and maneuverability and adhered to tactics typical of two-seater reconnaissance planes. Finally, he ordered the defensive guns not to be lubricated, fearing that the oil might freeze. Their airbase lay about 40 kilometers from the front lines, so it took roughly 45 minutes for the British formation to reach Douai. Minutes after the Bristols were spotted, 5 aircraft from von Richthofen's Jasta 11 took off, personally led by the Red Baron himself. As previously arranged, the British formation closed up upon sighting the enemy, but it didn't help. One Bristol fighter soon fell out of formation, hit by von Richthofen. He continued his attack and eventually forced down the aircraft flown by 2nd Lieutenant Arthur Lechler at Le Ward, south of Douai. Lechler later reported that his observer's gun had jammed and that the man had been wounded. Although wounded himself, Lechler survived and was taken prisoner, while his observer, 2nd Lieutenant Herbert George, died 6 days later in the German hospital. The British pilot managed to burn his aircraft after pulling his observer clear. As von Richthofen climbed to engage the remaining Bristols, other defensive gunners began experiencing machine gun stoppages, probably the result of Robinson's ill-advised order not to lubricate them. Robinson's own plane was soon shot down by Vizefeldwebel Sebastian Festner. He and his observer, 2nd Lieutenant Warburton from New Zealand, both survived and were taken prisoner. Von Richthofen then caught up with the last aircraft in the formation, flown by Lieutenants Alfred Adams and Donald Stewart near Cuancy. He achieved the second victory of the day, forcing the Bristol fighter down. Both crewmen survived and became POWs, but not before managing to burn their aircraft. A fourth Bristol was shot down by Lieutenant Georg Simon. The wounded crew, Lieutenant Horace Cooper and 2nd Lieutenant Alan Baldeson, were likewise captured, The 2 remaining Bristol fighters managed to return to base, though riddled with bullet holes. One of the observers, 2nd Lieutenant Hugh Griffith, reported that while his aircraft had become separated from the formation, he managed to drive down an enemy fighter. He also claimed to have seen another German aircraft driven down out of control by Robinson and Warburton. Both of these victory claims were officially confirmed, but in reality, German losses were nil. Von Richthofen described his 2 victories over the Bristol fighters briefly in Der Rote Kampfflieger. We had scarcely gone to an altitude of 6,000 feet when an English patrol of 5 machines came our way. We attacked them in a rush as if we were cavalry, and the hostile squadron lay destroyed on the ground. None of our men were even wounded. Of our enemies, 3 had plunged to the ground and 2 came down in flames. There are slight discrepancies here. There were 6 British machines and only 4 were shot down while 2 returned damaged. Still, the Red Baron could be excused for underestimating the new British fighter. Its flight commander had made nearly all the wrong tactical decisions. 5th of April 1917 was a very busy day over the Arras front. Let us know if you'd like to see more of the action from this campaign. Thank you for watching and keep supporting Showtime 112.